Hello, world. How's it going? What's up,
Hello,
Saba?
how's it going?
It's
I like
going
how we're
good.
both always in a galaxy mode.
You know, there's cerebral and then like intergalaxy. I think they're all intertwined,
You
right?
saw my Heaven's Gate message last night. I was like, oh no.
I don't know even know what that's about.
Yeah, my
Um,
boyfriend was breaking it down to me, and I was like, mm. Then I started thinking about Dash and Afterlife, and I was like, ooh.
Nothing bad, guys. Shout out to Dave and Dash.
I
We're
can tell
all.
you as much as I know. I
Is
might
it
kill this story, but this might be a crazy intro. From what I know, it was a group of people, a lot of people that were fans of Star Trek, actually. And I think some people were like actually affiliated with it that just believed in like there's a life beyond this, like kind of like we all do, of like self-actualization, leveling up. But it was also the year 2000,
hmm
so they thought this is it, and they created this website that's still live to this date. But it was a whole, what's it called when they do the religious things and get people into,
a cult?
yeah, kind of one of those. But the site's still up, and there's people's videos on YouTube and stuff that talk about their thing. So we were actually talking about how, in a weird way, those people were content with their concept of like, this is my belief. We were just talking about beliefs, honestly, of like how interesting it is that people can have such strong beliefs and then leave Earth with that belief, whether it's valid or not, whether it's true or not. It's like you just left with that belief.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was also, gosh, we're off topic a little bit for me, but
I'm
there
sorry.
was also like the people in like South America, like everyone who like went to South America and drank the Kool-Aid and
Yeah.
like yeah.
This
So
will go. This is not what we came here for.
no, sorry guys. So yeah, but again, this is the diversity and range of conversation you will get here.
Yeah.
um, so what's up first? What's up first? You got something first? You want me to go?
You can start. I got a lot on my
All right.
mind.
So the first thing I want to talk about and get your feedback on is, as we all may have seen, like the market significantly crashed over the past few days, and so NFTs weren't impacted. Like NFT sales have been booming so far this month. There's been $6 billion, $6 or $5 billion in trade volume in NFTs across the board. So, and that's a record-breaking stat. I think I was going to find it out in the last show, and I did on accident. So now I have it for you guys. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you think the NFT market, sustained itself while everything else around it tanked?
Product design.
Product design,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Tell me.
think I think it's doing well solely because there's a lot of people in the space that are building. They're building off of decent infrastructure, and there's a lot of collectors and creators that are like maintaining that supply. I could be totally wrong because I don't know much about economics. I'm the wrong person to ask about this. But from a designer's perspective, I've always believed in NFTs. And although there's been different chains and everything's been like Polygon or Solana or Ethereum, as a designer, just watching what everyone's building, there's a lot being built and there's a lot of collectors. There's a lot of people continuously keeping it together on a daily basis. So there's activity, in my opinion. That's all I know. So I just see activity and I assume that that's sustainability.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say I think the market is staying strong because it's still so new, right? Like it hasn't reached its maturity level for it to be still or truly take a dip. And so while it's still volatile, right? Like there's still, areas where some projects may completely go wrong, but it seems like the common denominator is for those projects who are doing it right, like you're going to inevitably continue to see success, which is why I think we had a record breaking month. It hasn't been fully tapped. It's still so new, and because it's like every day there's something new, you know. And whether
It's
that's
like even if one project fails completely, there's another one booming. So
correct,
it's equaling itself out. Also,
correct, and
I don't think
but
it's
it's
anything
growing.
new. Like, one, we all knew it was volatile. We all knew that there was going to be dips and peaks. Metacrete actually put me onto that.
Okay.
So like I kind of knew. I cashed out, you know. I was like, all right, this is a good time. But I think like any cycle, all of these little projects are essentially startups. So if you think about like early Uber, early Airbnb, they're all sitting on industries that have their own peaks and lows as well.
Hmm. I agree. I think that's spot on. I think we're going to see even more of this throughout the year. I think if I had to predict when I think it would taper off, I would say maybe August, September,
Why?
because I think Q1, you're going to see a lot of levels of activity. You may see like slight dips, but you're going to see some more activity go up. So into Q1 is going to be really good. I think end of Q2 or by Q2, it'll start to go down. And I think around what is it? Around August, it may flatline a bit. And
You know
then
where it might go up? When everyone gets their next stimulus check or they get their bonus. Because everyone drained their accounts off the holidays.
well, that's my thing. I think you're going to see the biggest uptick October, November, December. Like just I mean that's not even like a prediction. That's literally what happens every single year.
Mhm.
So that's just looking at basic economics. Like that's the biggest grossing quarter usually for more successful companies. And I think the NFT projects that are in prime position for that, the ones that aren't failing right now, the ones that are being really successful and they continue to execute against their roadmaps, by the time Q4 rolls around, they're going to boom.
Mhm.
And there's going to be some projects that can ride their momentum that have similar trajectories. So I see, and that's why I'm so excited for us. Like if we can do well, we're going to do it. But as we do what we're doing, like the positioning. Hey kids, hey children. See, guys, anything can happen. So yeah, it's like Mario getting his hair braided. Come here, Mario.
What?
Look at this. Look at this guy with his braids in his hair.
I can't sleep because they hurt.
You can't see because they hurt. They look good. So fresh.
Get out of here.
Come back with an NFT idea.
He said, all right. Yeah.
Uh,
The randomness that happens, right?
I saw this tweet earlier today. It's a great segue for what you want to talk about, so thank me in advance. Someone tweeted, I don't know if I'm supposed to be shouting people out or not. I don't know this person. But it also makes me not want to shout them out only because they're verified. So I'm like, double plug. Anyways, so there was like a research done. There's actually a Google Drive that maybe we can link of some information about what people responded. And it was, what's the goal inside the DAO that you have joined? 35% of people said belong to a community. 27.8% create ideas and projects. 20.5% said wealth and money. 13.2 said own a
many
unique product. What's up?
What was the wealth and money stat? How many? What's the percentage?
20.5.
Okay.
So the biggest one was belong to a community. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually had this little epiphany this week where I was like, I think like internally things were moving so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is sick. Like, it's kind of nice to be at a team where things are moving good. Everyone's on top of their shit, their synergy. We all understand each other. It's like a little mini community or family.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, I was like, that's really what it is. It's like, I value this idea. Here's another group of people who really value this idea and want to contribute to this idea. Barely know how the hell this is going to all work out because most of us haven't ever experienced this before, but we're just going to trust in it.
Mhm.
And there
I
it
mean,
is.
I agree. There's definitely a sense of belonging that feels good, but I still think that there's so much to be figured out. I kind of like think about this all day and night, and not to the point where it haunts me, but to the point where there's so many ideas that can be integrated. Like, you know, for all of those who may or may not know, I'm expecting. And like when that happens, like I want to be able to like kind of take a bit of a break, right? Like I don't want to like have the same crazy work schedule that I currently have. And so when I think about things like that, like I said before, you can probably find the best companies or employees who vote their companies at the best places to work and work backwards from there. Because even though there are companies that are traditional, there are still companies like a Google who are very non-traditional, where you have to spend X amount of your time working on other projects. I mean, that's very old news, but at the same time, I think we're going to see that implementation more through the technology, through what you do, how you do it. Like we said before, people should be forced to prove that they spent 2 hours a day disconnected. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy, right? So for me, I think that's the evolution we're going to see. I read an article about a company who integrated a 4-day work week, and how it's been now that it's been like a year since, and it's it has its ups and downs that they may say, but overall, they think like the morale of their team is even better due to
Yeah,
it.
my corporate job does 4-day work weeks in the summer, and then I think you can, depending on your schedule and your manager, you can kind of play around with it. But it's a huge mental health release. Like I think everyone feels it of like, when everyone's like, I need that extra day. You really do. Europe does it well. Europe does it really well. I was actually thinking about how even though we're remote now, it's almost like everyone is on like a notification syndrome or like addiction of like ding 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 ding, where you should be living, and if you need to get work done, you get work done. Not you're just working and then you squeeze life in.
Well, I think there should be more of a, and I'm sure this may happen at certain companies, but there needs to be more of a repository around how to work and like how to continually advance the Slack syndrome, or like this, like like you could be like really in your zone and get 17 different Slacks, and you pivot, and I read it takes like 30 minutes to jump back and forth between context switching. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to lose a lot of the goal that you were working on trying to come back to that. And like again, we all have the 1000 tabs syndrome as well. Like, so the more we can figure out cohesively together how we want to work, how we can put all these things together, the better off it'll be.
You know what the challenge is for the future of work, in my opinion? You can set boundaries and say, like, as a company or as a person, don't message me after 5. And if you do, I'm not going to check it, right? But then not everyone's optimal brain is during that time. So a lot of people's brain fires up 5 and past. So it's like you got to find this equal ground. And we're all on different time zones. That's the fun part of working in Web3 and remote. So it's like, when is a good time for me to ping you where I'm not triggering you to spiral?
Right. And to me, there has to be like some type of AI that can detect these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're all so unique in the way in which we enjoy work. Um, and but we're also kind of also like life may change or something in life may happen that may force you to pivot your working style. And now this new working style is more conducive, working at night versus working in the morning. To me, it really is about trying to figure out how to have consistent communication so there's no silos and gaps. And I think the corporate world has done that decent, like above average for a while.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think the more you can start to like break down micro groups that can be self-managed and self-contained, the better off that will be. Like you don't need, I mean, depending on the product, like like projects may be able to go from different nodes for different skills as time progresses. Like I would like Pioneer Square Labs here in Seattle. They come up with an idea. The idea is great. They validate it, then they ship it off with the CEO and another team, another company, and it continues to evolve.
I love it.
So it's yeah, there's a lot of things to be done, but I think okay, what's your want to stick on this one or you jump to something else?
I'm ready. My brain is already ready for my next topic.
Run it.
VCs entering the DAO space.
I mean, it's just a loophole. It's what they've already been doing.
I feel like they've already been doing it, but publicly, it's almost like a brand new landing.
They're just trying to do it before entrepreneurs do it.
I hear that. It's almost like every product designer that I've been looking at has been plugging me to, like, I've been going down this rabbit hole of people that work in DAOs, and I keep ending up at like a VC DAO, and it started making me think about the framework in which we're building our DAO and how investors will interact with us. And it's just so interesting to me how many new VCs there are. Like, people are public about, this is my first year. I hope I don't fuck up these companies. And it's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, we said that before. The one good thing is that you can publicly say, I don't know everything about it, and neither do you. We're just going to take a journey together with each other. And so then to me, it becomes more about the person. Like, what's your ideas?
At that point, okay, so at that point, when they do like very formal risk assessments,
mm-hmm.
At that point, me pairing up with you as a VC I should do a risk assessment on my end too, because I'm coming with all the ideas.
Well, it's both. Really, I mean, it really is both. It's both.
You got a Slack notification.
Do I?
No, I thought that's what you were doing.
No. I'm glad. Not too many Slacks on a Saturday at 7. But no, I think the VC world is even further ripe for disruption in this space. It's inevitable. I think what we're structuring, how others are structuring it, it's a little good. It's good and bad, because I see some of the like investments DAO SaaS products that's saying, hey, you want to be an investor? Use our tools. It's like, well, to kind of really only do it, you need to build it out yourself. Like, you need to kind of put all these things together to have the exact flow that you want. I haven't seen one that's been perfect. And so, and even then, I want to be able to go rewrite it. I think we all need the time to like go through something over 18 months. Give ourselves, or maybe 2 years, give ourselves a nice amount of time to lock in, or maybe even shorter. Maybe it's something we review every quarter.
2 years?
I mean, you gotta think, like, projects and work, it takes time. Like, you got to give yourself a room to make mistakes.
I hear you.
Like, or unless we going out. I mean, I do want to go out the gate the right way, but yeah, I think you do need time to work on things, or the way like Vector DAO does it, where projects are in cohorts, in seasons, or whatnot.
I believe in that. I think, but to me, it's like no different than feature releases.
But for me, I don't want to only just be a part of just the season. I want to help build the mechanism that creates the season. I want to be in that part forever. Like, I never leave that part. Like, that's the part where I think is the most fun. In my rap that I wrote this week, one of my bars was like, fuck the middleman, be the architect, right? Mm-hmm. Like get rid of that person who's just, you're a stopgap, essentially. Like, build the entire ecosystem to where everyone can, be successful. So for me, when thinking about that part of the system, and not just the project, but the actual infrastructure, like that needs time to make mistakes. Like, that needs time for growth. That needs time to learn. That needs time, because that's when you really establish the values of who you're working with as a priority, right? Like who am I? Like we're going into this more so for a long-term engagement, and
Mhm.
so I need to understand the values of who I'm working with, like because
I think that's fair. That's fair. You should take time to get to know like who you're sleeping in a bed with.
right. And with
But
that, go ahead.
no, say what you were gonna say because my thing is off topic.
Well, I'm saying with that, because it's again for me, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I think that there should be flexibility within the DAO structure. There should be the ability to be in multiple DAOs, but at some point you think about like, well, is there any conflict of interest, right? So if I'm in
I
developer
have a
DAO,
hot take.
hold on, but if I'm in developer DAO, I'm in a DAO with you, and I'm in 3 VC DAOs, right? And so here's this mental health platform or product. Like where's my allegiance? Like, do I have allegiance to, DAO number one, DAO number two? Like, how do I, contribute? Is there anything that holds me to just be like
I've kind
giving
of
them?
been in that problem this past
What was
year.
that?
I've been in that problem this past year.
So yeah, like what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. As someone who's like heavily in IP, the first thing I would ever think of is like conflict of interest, especially because
Right.
I'm like heavy in corporate and I do freelance. So I get the whole conflict of interest thing. However, I feel like I've hacked it, but I'm only human. So I've hacked it until like limits of Web3's allowed me the ability to kind of say like, fuck the conflict of interest. You're coming to me to solve a problem. I'm going to solve your problem this way. Now you're coming to me, or I'm seeking you to solve your problem. I'm going to solve it in this other way. Like, to be honest, a lot of the stuff I do cross contaminates. Me being me, like, I have to go actively out of my way. And that's just like a personal check of like, why create chaos for myself? Why create a situation where I can't go to sleep at night? Why create more stress? Unless I really think I'm going to get away with some shit, which like never works out.
I have a question. So practice empathy, right?
Yeah.
So who do you want on your practice empathy team? Who do you want? So not and for problems that you can't solve. So you want someone to solve a problem for you.
Mm-hmm.
You want someone on your team who might have conflict of interest, or would you prefer to have someone on your team who isn't dating around essentially?
Okay, this actually came up. So I started building a product for someone.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'll tell you why. I started building a product for someone and then I joined a DAO. And that client didn't know how to feel about it, honestly. They asked me questions and they were like, well, the future phases of our product are kind of similar to what you're doing with this other DAO.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a moment where I was like, shit, am I doing something wrong? Shit, like, should I have told them in advance? And I don't know if it was because like woman in tech, something kicked in where I was like, I'm not comfortable with someone monitoring my limit of how much I can contribute or what I can do. I've solved your problem. I've given you what you need. Now you have to trust in me and the NDA that we signed together that I'm not going to take your IP and embed it into someone else's concept, right? Like something that, whether it was a smart contract, whether it was a handshake, whether it was an NDA, or whether we just fuck with each other, something happened at the beginning where you were like, I trust this person enough to give them my idea for them to build it.
Okay.
So in my scenario, after going through all that, and I had to explain that to them. I was like, as a creative, as a designer, that's the craziest shit ever to tell a designer that they can't design multiple things. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm never going to be satisfied with creating your idea. I'm going to continuously want to create other ideas. So after going through that, in my scenario, like I'm bringing Rama on to do all the AI data scientist stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's going to eventually start her own DAO, and I know she's going to do other things and join other DAOs. But whether it's through a contract or whether it's through a handshake, I'm cool with knowing that she might take a part of my IP and run with it, or it might inspire her. It might create sampling effects. Like sampling can happen beyond music.
Okay, cool. So would you ever want anyone? So are you comfortable? So I mean, I look at no. Oh,
Are
I
you
said
trying to steal my practice empathy idea?
my what?
Are you trying to steal my practice empathy idea?
No, not at all.
I know. Okay.
No,
I'm
I
like,
was like,
why are you asking so many questions about
no,
practice?
because I think because these are some of the things that I think about, right?
Okay.
So like it took a ton of people to build a pyramid. Pyramids still stand today, right? Like it's one of the greatest, or one of the seven, whatever.
I
So
think it's an ego thing.
hold on. So it's not ego. Hold on, because you could even, to a degree, look at it like a relationship. I mean, some people are okay with open relationships. Some people are okay with more closed relationships. All kinds of things, right? So, which is of the norm. So I'm saying, like, in any part of your project, will you want to be the sole source of truth, or so? Because if you're the sole source of truth for your project, then there's never any other, like, you could be the central point of failure, right? Like, do you want to be this?
Agree. So
So hold on, more. There's a little bit more. So I think I look at it more like, because I played team sports my whole life. So, like, thinking about the team aspect of things, it's like, well, you play on this team, you play on this, but you have to have some type of central team. Like, I played AAU basketball across 5 different teams, and then sometimes those teams be in the same term. It's like, well, shit, who do I play for? Like, but then you got to be like, yo, well, I started with you. You my first coach before I was recognized and got picked up by the really good AAU team. You made me good, right? So I'll play with them just out of, like, allegiance. And so I think about things like that. Well, it's like, well, does it ever look at Apple, right? There's another twist to it. Look at Apple and Steve Jobs. Again, you don't have Apple if it's a DAO system. Like, so some
Agree.
can even say you could have something better than Apple. You probably can, but people still need to have the agency to just live off of their hunch. Sometimes people still need the agency to live off of their something that nobody else gets. Like, again, Kanye West, to a degree, kind of lives in the future, like with his thoughts and his ideas. Like, people catch up to what he's saying later. So if you have a great idea, but we don't vote on it because we don't see how far in the future you are with your idea, and that idea doesn't get to be put into circulation, we're at a disadvantage. Like, we're at a huge disadvantage because you were the only person that could see it, but we didn't, and we voted against it.
I hear that. I have a current situation. Practice empathy isn't there. Like, brain wise, I'm not there to think about that, but I have a current situation that you just made me think of. I'll plug her because she's amazing. Jyoti Balani reached out to me from FemPeak. It's actually run by a Persian woman, amazing woman. It's like women in tech, insane amount of workshops and seminars you guys can sign up for that will just give you like a mentor. So she was like, I was you. I like your story. I left Google. I left all these other companies because of all the shit that you're struggling with too. And I started my own conversational AI consulting company.
So,
Bless her heart. She paid for my course, taught me everything I know, put me in a cohort to learn from other women, put me in another course. Like, she's just been funding my education. Insanely grateful to her. And I told her my life story, and she's like, I can't believe that after everything you've gone through and you're autoimmune, like, you persevered in tech. And she's like, what made you do that? And I was like, I don't fucking know, like, life. But I was like, I have a coping technique that I use, and it's 528 frequencies. And I'm like, I don't know whether it's placebo or not. I personally haven't done enough research. But at some point, Big Pharma told me I got to pay $30K and do all this. And I was like, no, I Googled something. I found 528 hertz. And she's like, run with that. And she encouraged me. She was like, create a conversational AI for 528 hertz. And I was like, I don't even, like, I haven't even finished the course. Like, I don't even know how to do this thing. finally came up with a concept, which I'm happy to share because I was like hiding it for so long, being like, I hope no one gets this IP. And I was like, fuck it. The same way that you talk to your Google Home and say like, hey, Google Play, Spotify, or whatever. I hope I don't cue mine right now.
Playing John Scalzi on Spotify.
Okay, Google, stop playing music. The concept is basically, hold on. Okay, Google, stop playing music.
The mic's off.
Anyways, this guy won't stop. Hold on. So the concept is basically like the ability for me to do that. Why can't I do that with a customized frequency of sound that will heal me? Somehow I cued German. When she told me to run with it, I made the whole dialogue of like, what happens if someone's triggered this way? What happens if someone's triggered that way? They need someone to talk to. They need an AI. Like, if I don't want to talk to my boyfriend, I don't want to talk to my mom. No one else is going through the same pain as me. I just need to get this out. I can talk to the AI, get what I need through it, get the customization. I did it on my own. And then the second cohort, she's like, here's a bunch of new women in the program and you're going to mentor them. I was like, mentor them? Like, I've never mentored anyone in my life. I started freaking out, honestly. I was like, I just learned how to do this. Here's a whole new set of women, like 10 women. And they're getting access to this one idea that's so close to home for me. And they started coming in, flooding in with questions. Some of them being like, this is the most amazing idea. Some of them being like, I don't understand how it works. Some of them being like, teach me how to do this. And for like a week, I was like, ooh, this feels weird because everyone showing someone something, everyone envisions it differently. Someone's like, well, will it work like this? Another person's like, it should work like this. And I'm like, but that's not the core vision that I created. So it threw me off. And I think this, like, I'm sorry if this is too long, but it kind of goes back to what you asked me of like,
I like it.
It took like 3 weeks of me just being like, this isn't about me. Like, one, for this to even come up, she instilled that in me. This wasn't like me sitting here on an idea. She instilled that in me. Now I'm in an opportunity to build something, but I'm also in an opportunity to scale this in so many different variations because now I have 10 women who see it in 10 different ways. So then it became like, okay, I saw the dialogue and the AI bot talking this way and only playing 528. You might not fuck with 528. It might actually give you more anxiety and you might fuck with 720. It's no different than like 808s and beats and BPMs, right? So it turned into, let's just build the first one. I will be the pillar of the framework. Then everyone can branch off. So I've created the template, I've created the flow, the dialogue, the intents, and then everyone can create their own variations of it.
You know what's interesting about that? Because that's what we made on Figma.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everyone's a node, right? And it can branch off, right? That's
I'm getting a lot more comfortable with this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it will remain that way. I could be totally wrong. Like a year from now, we might watch this and be like,
well,
but it will remain that way because the idea of even practice empathy, yeah, I was sitting on that, but it wasn't until you were like, hey, are you sitting on an idea? So then it became, okay, let's do this together. So right. We were the pillar. Or there's a word for this of like the thing that ignites something and then it branches off. Drew had an idea off of it. Marvin has an idea and it's just morphing into something bigger and bigger.
Correct. Now, so I agree with that. I think what should also be disclosed, at least, is what you just said. Like in every example you gave, there was a layer of communication where you expressed, which was rightfully so, like, hey, I'm in this DAO, but it's very similar to what you're doing. What's up with that? there was still like this vulnerable conversation. I can't call it vulnerable, but just transparent conversation where it's like, well, we're at this crossroad. Are you cool with this? Are you not cool with this? This is my position. I think as long as that communication is also in your smart contract, then you're good, right? Like,
Technically plug it in. Like anytime that you onboard onto a new DAO, if that's then
well, it's there.
you know.
It's there because there's still like things like vesting schedules. There's still like things where you lock things up over a certain amount of time. And so, you know, I think we all, I think if you want to build something like, and maybe this is me being more Web 2 centered than truly understanding what can be done in Web 3. But I know in a Web 2 format, you want to have a longer amount of duration of time to work with someone as a team. Like look at Good to Great. Like Jim Collins, his first notion is it doesn't matter where the bus is going, it matters who's on the bus.
Mhm.
So think about that example or analogy and what you provided as an example. Forget the initial direction that you may have had. Get the right people in here, which are these 10 women, and watch where you end up.
Mhm.
And that's the
Because honestly, like, yeah, my concept was cool, but I didn't have it all fleshed out. Like now there's so many different customizations. We've thought about everyone else's triggers, everyone else's symptoms, different sounds. Like it's made the project so much more meaningful.
I have a question. Do you look at your NFT projects, or could, not even for you, but could one look at their NFT projects like an album?
That would be brilliant. I've actually never thought about that, but that's pretty brilliant.
But because if I am a individual, I can be in a group. I can be Method Man and I can be in Wu-Tang, right? Or I can still be my independent solo, or I can do my Method Man and Redman thing, right? That's something else that I wanted to do, and those are all different variations of albums, and singles and collaborations. So, you know, no one's truly tied to anyone but themselves, right? Like I can have my Drake can put out something with him in Future, or he can put it by himself, or whatever. But there is a level of cohesion. If you look at rap as an example, it's always more of like nothing really stayed the same. Like everyone eventually left where they started.
Hot take.
Well, I have one too. So let's just run those down. Lil Wayne eventually left Cash Money, came back, started Young Money. Rockefeller never stay together. Jay-Z dipped. Most of the ones that are still thriving are usually led by the person who started them. So Rick Ross had MMG. Meek Mill went off, kind of did his thing. Wale kind of did his thing. Who else is there? Death Row. Snoop left. Rest in peace to Tupac. But most of those guys end up leaving.
Yeah.
So I guess you can have your layer of independence like an artist, and I guess your label essentially is your DAO.
Okay.
Something like that. Something like that.
A play off that. My hot take is that in a music scenario, as a publisher or as a label, I've come to you and I've said, whatever the transaction exchange is, I own this IP. Right?
Who?
The publisher or the label. They're going to come to you and say, I own this IP for this duration of time. Right? So, and whatever you create within that time is mine.
Okay.
The difference with not being in music is right now, no one owns my IP. Even my corporate job, they don't own my IP. They don't own all of Saba's brain or all of Saba's ideas or anything that Saba can ever think about. The only thing between us is that I'm not allowed to take their IP and go do things with it, right? Because I signed that NDA. But they don't own my IP in any way. They own the IP that I create for them. So anything that I've created for them, they own that, and that's okay. So in that scenario, if I join a DAO or like there's any scenario like that, or the scenario that I went through with the previous client, it was a situation of like, I signed a contract. The contract stated that I would give you this and that would be your IP. The
I get,
contract
I
did not state that you had rights to my entire IP and everything that I do outside of your project.
so my question more so for you and others listening, what are your thoughts when it's related to your own project and you bringing in people for your project? Like at some point, you have to bring in an entire team of people to run a
Mhm.
company to be sustainable. And so if you're, true 100% Web3 and you hire no one and you never have other people working with you, you never have an office. I mean, don't get me wrong, those things can run and they do run really well, but would you never want some as an example, you never want an executive team of people who are solely focusing on your project ever? Never. I do. I would love to like have an executive team of
No,
people
I
we're
get
working
it. I think I just have a little PTSD from corporate, but I get where you're going with it.
Yeah, I would like to have like an executive committee of people where it's like, okay, because everything to me in a sense is so broad and nothing's confining. Like I want to create something to where nothing's confining, but we can all work within the system and like say, okay, like maybe for a short duration, let's work together and then look back and see if this went correctly.
I
Like
have a
did we
proposition.
go for it?
I don't want an executive team that just like gets presented things and then calls the shots based off what their needs and wants are as a stakeholder.
No.
But I like when you always talk about nodes, that's what I like of very similar to when you're in product teams. We can have Instagram and there's a product team for Insta stories. There's a product team for posts, right? So within that, you could have a leader, an executive, a manager, someone driving those nodes. And I'm happy with that because they can run with whatever ideas them and their team want to run with. That's cool. So long as they're like branches from the main tree.
Well, yeah, definitely branch from the main tree. I think that even those particular nodes are. 'Cause I think for me, I'm really like if you ask me, regardless of Web3, Web4, Web5, whatever, like what do you want to do long term? It's really simple. I want to be able to work with a group of people that I've built good relationships and working relationships with. It's a reason why Dr. Dre and Snoop make hits is because those two been in the lab for so long. They have continuity. It's the reason why the Bulls won 3 championships in a row twice. Yes, there was Michael Jordan, but they had continuity as a group. They had good coaching. Like all those things make for dynasties and like long-term success. So when you have that, and that goes back to Jim Collins, he's like, get the right people on the bus and you're good, right? So you should get the right people on the bus, but also, look at it to where we know where we want to go, obviously, but there's only like this duration of time where we should lock in. So we can do a couple of things. We can build out our own ideas. And if you want to continually build out your own ideas, great. But then there should also be the notion of we should invest in other ideas. Like we should find more people to bring into our ecosystem that can have this level of independence by us investing in them. So now we're, essentially we're making risk, we're making gambles, we're making bets like, hey, I think you're going to do really well. Here's 10 million for your project. Great. This is what we already have resource pool wise that you can leverage. Amazing. But then also we have our own ideas. Like I think it would be great if Saba was forced to spend $1 million a year just on your ideas alone.
That would
Like
be amazing.
maybe you have an idea a week where you have to spend 50 grand to put that idea out. And I think everyone would love to be in a position where we all have little quick ideas we can never get to, right? Like we all have little ideas. It's like, man, I have to backlog it. But what if it could be backlogged and actionable based on the
The
infrastructure?
fund that you had to make
Not
it
just the infrastructure you've established as a DAO. DAO can be company, but it's built that way. You're incentivized to work in that capacity to where you have to do this. Like that's a part of your job or your responsibility. So let's not say job, but your responsibility as a governance NFT holder in a DAO.
Is
Like
it like
you get the budget.
I could be totally wrong. But you know how there's like manufacturing tools
Mm-hmm.
and they can do multiple things, like
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing machines?
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend loves to use this example of like everything should run like a manufacturing. So maybe that's why I'm saying it. But if you're talking about infrastructure, to me, it would be like everything's set up as a functioning machine and tool. And regardless of what idea or project it gets hit with, it can produce that.
Well, it's better than a manufacturing. It's like ecology. It's like how things grow in the forest naturally. It's just natural, and it's very much about the elements. It's still this very human element to it that makes it thrive, because we're taking and not this like a manufacturing company is there's no real thought into it. It's autonomous. It just goes, right. It's just boom, 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 boom.
Can't really adapt.
Correct. It needs to have flexibility. It needs to make mistakes. Something needs to die. Something needs to be reborn. Like, we need the human layer to it to make it, to me, to make it whole.
Mhm.
And now you have a system to where, again, we're digital. It's a digital tribe, right? Like, our ancestors, again, I've said this before, they already came up with all this stuff. They figured this out a long time ago, but they didn't have a smart contract. So you put that smart contract with what our ancestors established of how to work together in societies and communities and regions to be prosperous. Like, what's the difference? And this was brought to you by
Profound.
All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, what does Web3 social media look like? Ooh.
Instagram should hire you for that one.
Why join them if we can make it?
All right, give us your ideas.
I know because they got 50 billion war chests they're just sitting on.
No,
There's
no.
a big difference. Soon to come, though. We'll see you soon, Mark.
What are your takes?
Let us call out Mark Zuckerberg. Did I? Maybe I did. I think I did. Hey, Mark, what's happening? I don't know.
We still got to figure out how they did that meta site, so that's okay. We can shout him.
He'll be okay. We got all of our 10
You know
followers.
what's funny is I've never thought about it the way you've thought about it. I think I've only thought about it in the way of like brand deals and NFTs and getting paid right away through like a smart contract if I posted something and I did a brand deal. Don't think I've ever thought about it on like a community level.
Yeah, platform. I mean, tokenomics and platform. Like, so because it's crazy, because he who does this will take over. Like, you could essentially, like, with Web3, I predict someone could be the new Facebook. Like, grow to that scale. Like, I have everyone in the world using this.
I agree.
Which could be crazy. That we should just put an idea on the board. I don't know what it is, but we should put an idea on the board around this and bring people in to think of just think about it. What would that look like? And I know there are multiple people probably already thinking about it, but it's I mean, think about it. What do you need? And
you know what I would think about it? Should I give them my idea? Should I protect my IP or should I open source? The fucking problem of the century.
Let's open source, and then the guys who see it, just hit us up. Let's work together. Like,
okay. In a world where you would have to get everyone onto one platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Web3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I could be wrong, but I feel like the fastest way is to get the groups that are already formed, because that's large user groups already. Like all the DAOs, all the Discords, all like, remember how Facebook groups used to work?
Mm-hmm.
Or like you would join your high school and stuff. Like it was all about groups and communities, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all the DAOs onto a platform. All of that's already generating a lot of users. I think Discord's already doing it, actually, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would say
Discord probably has the highest centralized Web3 user group. That's my hot take.
So I would say, and please, if someone else takes this, please just hit us up, shout us out or something. I would say you have to first start with the device. So I will reimagine the device first.
Mm.
So what are we interacting with to experience this Web3 social media something? So that's the first thing I would do is create a device and give it away for free. Create devices and give them away for free. So if there was something better than an iPhone, something better than a MacBook or whatever device you're using, better than a Oculus, that was for free. So there was no barrier to entry to use it and experience. And then just like Apple, I'd build my own software as well. So now we have the hardware and the software, so you're fully integrated, right? So,
I'm only laughing because I had a crazy thought.
but this will work. This will work. I mean, you would need a fuck ton of money to do it, but you build your OS, you build all of those things from scratch, and you just create some cool experience. Like at that point, why wouldn't someone do it? And you focus on security, you focus on incentive, like how much a person gets. So right now, we don't get paid. LinkedIn gives us nothing, Twitter gives us nothing, Facebook gives us nothing, YouTube gives you nothing, Amazon gives you something, but that's a whole other component that I would bake in, which is logistics, like Amazon, into the social media platform. Because, like I said in my prediction for 2022, you're going to have all these hybrid models that don't work together. Amazon and Facebook, Twitter don't work together. Imagine if they did, that'd be crazy. In a Web3, that'd be crazy. So I would build all that together, and then we would give all the money away. Yeah, let's build that system and give all of the money away. Like keep none of it.
I had two thoughts while you said all that.
That'd be crazy.
That integration was wild, by the way. Amazon and Facebook. I thought when you were like nothing, I was like, wait, is the only place that we're getting like some cash back with credit cards?
I mean, there are others like really non-true incentivized programs, but I mean, for the most part, I mean that's one of them.
Flights and credit cards. Or like grocery stores.
I mean, there's more, right? There's definitely more examples, but not to the where you're overly incentivized where it could really be life-changing, right? Like grocery stores aren't giving out groceries based on, they give you a coupon, they'll give you, something, you get some points or whatever, you get some gas points or something crazy, but they're not giving you food back to give you actual value. They're not really bringing you and teaching you farming lessons and how to eat properly and caring about your local community. Grocery store, Dow, boom.
I went to a bookstore yesterday and the guy was trying to upsell me on like a new membership card. And halfway through, I was like staring at him. He's like, never mind.
That's a commercial.
He talked himself out of it.
That's a commercial. Woman goes to bookstore, she's upsold, just like you need the NFT here. The NFT should be there and at the membership card. Boom, that's a commercial.
I know. The other thought I had was it's like when your brain is either having a genius moment or it's like a brain fart. You don't ever know which one it is. But it was like, how do you get the most amount of population on Web3? Shit, what about the population that doesn't even have internet? How do you get them on internet first?
I answered that. You give them the device. Like obviously the device will need to be some type of, you can create like some type of satellite internet, something crazy.
That might be the answer.
But you give everyone a device. Let's go here, take it. It's free. Why do I need the iPhone 13?
You know who would be good partner for that and would actually do it?
Who?
Idris.
Who?
Idris Sandu. Spatial. Kanye's favorite tech.
Oh. Hit him up. Let's talk. Let's make a deck.
I'm really bad at hitting people up. I realize that since I've known you. I get shy. I don't know what. It's hard for me to be like, hey, want to build shit together?
Well, I mean, it's a true exchange of value, really. Like if you value what you do and what you can bring, then it's really a layup for each party. Like, I can do this, you can do this, less work. Like the client we talked to or prospective, I can't even call them a client. No more clients, partners.
Hashtag no more clients with all due respect to our
No more
current clients.
But with the shock ammo stuff, like that was crazy. I've never seen anything
I
like
feel
it.
like that blew your mind this week.
It did. And when I met with Shakir, I was like, look, I need to have a striker with on a tee with like bullets on chain, like, and put the bullets on his chain that striker's wearing. I'm like, I need the word, I need the bullets on his necklace, with the electricity going crazy. But it's like the traceability is recorded, which is nuts. I've never seen it.
I feel
With
like
the
the child in me responded to you after that call being like, I just want to imagine a world with no guns. And I was like, the adult in me was like, all right, let's swap out the guns with something that's not going to kill.
And that's this whole wave, which I respect and appreciate. So that's going to be a fun topic or fun like thing to work on. But what else we got? We this went by quick. We have 56 minutes.
There's companies legalizing NFTs like my home country, Iran.
They were illegal before.
Yeah, they've kind of been in the crypto space, but they're legalizing NFTs, and it's like their way out of US sanctions. So that's kind of the last thing on my mind. But other than that, a lot of people, UX product designers and Web3 are flying over to Portugal. I might do it too.
What's happening in Portugal?
It's crazy because like they kind of set it up like it's the new Silicon Valley and everyone's progressive there. But I also heard there's like a crazy tax rate for freelancers. So I don't know how this is set up.
So maybe we need to put so Portugal is like the Web3 leaders. What you're saying?
According to my Twitter.
So your algorithms.
My reality is very different.
Correct. That is a very true thing for people to realize. I had to tell my daughter that, so I'm like, your algorithms are showing you this shit. Like, let's not fall
My
deep.
truth is very different than your truth.
I know. My truth talks about LeBron James and Odell Beckham's, like, oh, there's another one. So Odell Beckham's he took his salary in Bitcoin, and when it tanked, it said that I think he's taking away home like $34,000 or something crazy from his salary, his whole salary for the year. I think his salary was like $735,000. What was that?
Wouldn't he hold it?
What did he what?
Wouldn't he hold his salary? Like
Yeah,
if I'm getting paid in crypto,
But you also got to pay taxes.
I'd also want to cash out here and there so I could make profit.
So nobody knows what he actually did, but when they just broke the numbers down, like if he never pulled anything out to do anything with further, his salary was $735,000. He had to get taxed like 35%. And then, but
I
then
don't know how taxing works on crypto. I've never had enough crypto to know.
Yeah, well, anything you probably do. You might not want to say that anymore. None of us have any crypto, ladies and gentlemen. No crypto over here. But yeah, I think he in the day, like take home was like 35,000. So he lost 700,000, which is crazy.
Wow.
All right, that's my last hot take for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, you got
doing these on Saturday night.
I know. We'll get things back on track. Since when we take Fridays off.
We're just trying to do too much on Fridays too.
I think for me personally, I would, in a perfect world, Monday would be the other day off for me.
So you can catch up?
We'll really get further ahead, get further ahead and then kind of barrel through. But, that might be I may want to look back and say, yo, after 2 months of this, I want to switch. Like, I don't know. And that's correct. And that's okay. And that's why I'm thinking like this whole system to where Because it's okay, but you have to think like your decisions also impact other people.
You know what really bothers me? Who we should really reach out to? The creator of Calendly. Great product, great inventor. But the fact that I cannot, like, they have a competing app, which I'm not going to plug because I actually like Calendly, but it's been saving my ass. Why can I not integrate all of my different email calendars into Calendly to show me my entire situation so that then I can tell people when I'm available? They don't let you do it yet. Trust me, I even upgraded to test. What they do let you do is push your Calendly to multiple different ones, but they don't do the pulling.
So could a workaround be adding all of your calendars to a Google Calendar and then connecting that Google Calendar to Calendly?
That is a good workaround, but fuck.
I mean, you do the same thing with Calendly.
No, here's my challenge is that one of them, I have three Googles. I have 3 Googles and 1 Outlook. So I could do the 3 Googles and then manually do the Outlook, but the Outlook one's my corporate one, so it's annoying. Like,
you can sync Outlook with a Google Calendar.
wow, you're so much smarter than me.
No, just know little tidbits of things.
I'm gonna try that tomorrow on my Sunday.
All right. But we should reach out to Calendly. We could definitely do like NFT
Let the
time.
people know. Let the people know when we're dropping EXP NFT and Flip-NFT.
Ooh. We got to get that date from Drew. We're talking about that today earlier to get like an official date.
I actually added more references to that ticket, so I kind of scope creeped. My bad.
You know, I'm used to it by now. Yeah, so we'll have more information on that, I would say, for the next one, like more official, just tight deadlines and dates, hopefully something even live.
And people register and pull up on our project and experience them.
Agreed. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think Farmer DAO with grocery stores. I think something like that would be dope.
Is that our idea of the week? We didn't really do our game. I feel like that's a good one.
So these can be separate. I want to definitely, again, I introduced this guy who runs this pretty dope agriculture company to my accountant, and it's like accelerator cohort that I'm a part of. Actually, how I met Drew. And so he's like, "Does anybody have a good account?" And I'm like, "Yo, mine is dope. Like, I'll pass her your information." And so I looked at this company. I'm like, "Oh, like they got this just got funded, like really well funded agriculture company." I'm like, I have no idea what to do with these guys or how to work with them, but he's super thanking me that I introduced him.
That's sweet.
So I'm like, oh, Farmer DAO, this guy. Hey, let's try something.
Super thanking is a crazy term. I like it.
What was that?
Super thanking?
Yeah.
Super thanking.
So, and then what was the other one we said? We said farmers, and then we said, Calendly. So we should do that too. We should hit up Calendly, yeah. And then third, I guess we just make up our game now. So you say a word, and I will say a word.
I got it.
You got it? I don't.
It's the fastest I've ever been. I started using your idea of like just looking for things around me.
I got a good one. It's so on brand and something I just saw in front of me.
Ready?
Go for it. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Blender.
Battery. Oh, there's double B's.
Double B's.
Battery blender. We talked about blender today.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it was on brand.
I'm excited for my workshop, but blender is crazy.
Very.
Battery blender.
So we can make a battery in Blender. But what does this battery do? Maybe this battery
Charges all your ideas.
Yeah. That works perfect. So you got to buy our battery, as an
People
NFT.
probably listen to our ideas and think these two are so pathetic. I have a better idea.
You said what?
The kids probably think about our ideas and be like shaking their heads.
Probably. This guy told me he got followed by Zendaya. I was like, whoa,
Okay.
whoa. Anywho, I digress. So battery NFT, and we give you money for your idea, or maybe we make the battery NFT and we put some money in it. We put some ETH in it, in the battery NFT.
My brain immediately went to how do you recycle batteries, and is there a sustainable way for batteries and DAOs?
Ooh, that's fire. So now we take so whoever gets the NFT, the battery for their project, they have to put their smart contract has to go back to the battery. So they got to put some money back into the battery. So they got to recharge it.
I like the recharge part.
And then someone can buy that battery. And like the idea is just keep growing and keep going.
This might be the best one we've had so far.
Ooh, battery NFT. 4 ideas, it's accelerator battery. There you go. Something like that. Something like that. We don't know it all, ladies and gentlemen.
Imagine if someone was limiting the amount of ideas you could have and
now,
own all of your IP. Wouldn't that friggin' that it's not gonna work in my world.
well, see, here's the thing. No one could ever own your IP or anything like that. It's just what you said. You just are working with that person, said person. But there should probably be some communication around, hey, I'm a musician, but I'm making 20 other songs, right? Like,
But when you hired that person, here's the hot take that I'll leave on. If you hire a producer, do you really think that they're only producing music for you? If you hire a designer, do you really think that they're only designing for you?
but this is why it should be specified, right? Like, this is why it should be specified. Like, and you have to think like you're productizing creativity for a traditional realm, right? So if I hire an executive level person, then this executive level person, like it comes with certain stipulations, which is why they're overly compensated, right? Which is why they get these $1 million bonuses. Like if you're getting $1 million bonus, like I would assume you're probably working with just that particular company.
It's because you're incentivizing someone to stay loyal to you.
You're incentivized. Well, no, it's not just that. It's still, I also think like when you think about like this team, right? Like team structure, like you should have an understanding around term and duration. I think term and duration is very, very critical because if not, like, and we have real life examples that we could talk about in terms of like clients. If not, then things are kind of hazy, and then you can have
missing. It's the client's responsibility to say like, for the X amount of time, I'm not comfortable with you working on other projects. So if you're cool with that, I will compensate you more. Because at that point, like from a designer's perspective or a creative, you're like, I'm allocating all my time to you. Therefore, I'm not profiting in other places. So you're going to have to really give me a nice check for me to not get checks other places.
Correct. And that's why they give $1 million bonuses. They give like, you get there are CEOs, there are executives that are making $15-20 million a year. Like it's an actual thing, right? So it's like, yo, we paying you for what we paying you for. And I feel that. I understand it. But at the same time, I also get the component of working around. That's put that on a t-shirt, working around. Where people should have the flexibility, but still to me, like that node structure encompasses all of these things, right? Like it has where you can branch off, it has all the branches, it has other relationships. And it's so let me ask you a question. I have a question. So what would your like parent brand be, or is your parent brand you? Because that's what the node says, right?
Yeah.
The node says is either Saba or it's Saba as this entity, which either or is true. So if like, what was the number you mentioned? 528?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say there was 528 is something that was created where that's Saba's LLC. right?
So
I
here's
don't
how
know.
I always
Hold on.
thought about it.
So now you go to, you freelance, but now you also want to build your own products, right?
Mhm.
So the product that you build that's within that particular LLC, is the LLC something you want to keep by yourself forever? Is the LLC something you want to have someone come in on paper with you and be like, yo, you're part of this LLC with me because now we assume similar levels of risk? Or are you always contracting out with someone? And you're the, again, if something happens to Saba ever gets sick, what happens with all the contractors? Are you the single point of failure?
You're so stuck on this single point of failure.
Or do you, but no, I think a DAO definitely, it creates a circle, right? So there is no single point of failure, which I like. And I've seen like the corporate side of things. So my question is, well, what are you doing with those situations? Like how do you respond to those?
I can only imagine what I would want for myself solely because I've never been a business owner, like on some real shit.
Okay,
But
so let's make you LLC. We should make you an LLC.
can you wait until I get my ass in America? Like,
Well, you can make it. You can. Don't
I
they
don't
have
I don't know why I'm not trying to do it out here, but I should do it out here.
this? I mean, it doesn't have to be something that you keep. Again, it could be like an album, right?
Okay,
But
so the way that I've always thought about it was I am me. I am
Mhm.
also an entity. Like my creative skills and my corporate skills and all that stuff, that's like consulting, freelancing, all that's an entity, right?
Mhm.
That's 528 Labs. Technically, I've been freelancing under it, just never made it official. Don't come after me, I still own student loans. So that's the entity, right? Some depending on the scenarios that are presented to me, I'll either do it under 528, and that could be just me, or it could be contractors and other people that are brought into the project. And in other scenarios, it's like I am representing my actual self and I'm handling the business. Does that answer your question?
It does. So, well, sort of. So my question is more to like the 528.
Those I see as products. Like 528. First of all, that's not even mine technically because it's under Fresh River Consulting. So I don't even think we haven't even had that conversation, but I would be happy to be like, that's part of Fresh River. Jyoti Balani, she funded it. She funded my education to even make that happen. So
Okay,
that,
so let's take all those like something brand new. That's what I mean, like something brand new. And so it is, I guess, what I'm getting from your perspective, it is more like albums.
their project, they're
They're
not
albums.
project. Well, I conceptualize projects as products.
An album is a product.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
features within it. And the way that I've always seen other people playing off of it is like different feature releases off of. I don't know why I always use Instagram as an example. I just feel like everyone understands it. But like Instagram is Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
If you wipe out all the interface, like that post function was the core function, right? Now, someone on the team came along, they hired someone that was like, I have this genius idea of making stories.
They stole it.
All right, well, they decided to add.
They tried to buy Snapchat. Snapchat wouldn't sell, so they copied them.
It's a
Sorry.
Saturday night. I'm trying to go make dinner, okay? Just work with me.
Okay, working with you.
So someone stole the idea
Mhm.
and was like, hey, I think that I should profit off this idea at this company and get rewarded, right? So that's a feature off of the main pillar of like if I made 528 first dialogue, that's the first product, then someone's going to come along and say, well, I think if the person says that they have this type of trigger, we should queue this flow. That's another feature flow or dialogue flow or another variation. But it's not really like V2.
But yeah, but it's still all under 528. So as an entity, like you also think about like taxes and stuff like that. Like DAOs will be taxed. So as an entity, there are DAO LLCs technically. So as an entity, all those things will live under that entity, right? And so if you have individual siloed, you have this product team and they're only making decisions at a product level per feature, then what about like, then you're the sole point, you're at the very top of this, and you have to have someone for operations at some point. You have to have someone for, I mean, you can have companies do all these things, you know, and you just be you and you outsource all of those things. That's doable. But, you know, if you're not here, I mean, these things may continue to exist with you overseeing it, or maybe they're good enough to keep them spinning by themselves, which is totally doable. But that would be the structure for something like that. And I think that's normal. That's what we see now, right? And then you're saying outside of 528, you can work as Saba individually, and go work within other projects as well. So now this is here and this is here. So it's kind of, you know, just different workflows, really literally workflows. But I guess I think that that's fair. And I think for me, I'm kind of similar, but I want to create something different from what I've already established, to where it's like the best of both worlds from the Web3, and it's just what I have on the node, and the kind of like Web2 experience that I've had thus far, and working at big corporate companies, where we can all, like just a small group of people can manage a fund. It shouldn't be like 100 people, at least not to start. Maybe it can grow. And these small group of people should manage the fund for all of the different projects.
You know what
Figure out how, go ahead.
Like you're reimagining the way that projects get funded versus like how they're kind of funded right now. Because like right now, in like a traditional corporate sense, you and I can be in our node or like our little team of what we want to build. We have to go convince a stakeholder above us that like this is going to generate ROI. That stakeholder above us is going to have to go convince someone in charge of finance that this is going to be a good idea, and then trickle back down.
Yeah, in a corporate setting, but in like a startup setting, there's accelerators or startup studios, like all these things already exist, where people sit around and come up with ideas like that happens.
Because they're funded to do that. Like the whole thing is like, here's a bunch of money, come up with as many cool ideas as possible so that we can profit off of this.
Correct. Well, not just profit, but you know, for me, it's that plus the values. Like, let's manage the money to create an ecosystem of sorts. And like these ecosystems, we are based off of our investment thesis. So our investment thesis is to dive into boom, 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 but also have the flexibility to explore whatever we want. Like, you have to spend $1 million on your own ideas that go out every frequency. You have to be
part, I think, is connected to the impact part.
Well, yeah, everything is connected to impact, because the goal is to create a system where we value impact-driven initiatives and ambitious initiatives equally, right? Like, so if it's like go big or go home, or it's really like go big or save the world, like that's kind of dope. So, but at the same time, you still want that small group of people, to me, to have like some type of term to say, yo, we got the money. Now let's spend it and invest and create, you know, for a certain amount of duration before we try to go do everything. And I think one of the cool things that I see from like this Z-axis within like this planetary system I envision for our DAO is that...
You know how we're going to make it happen? This is what I was trying to tell you earlier.
What's that?
We can make the planetary DAO in Blender. It literally has like all the nodes, all the axis, everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think like this is one of the tools that Dhruv and team uses, right? Like, they're Blender experts. Like they way past Blender, like way past Blender. Like, they make their own shit Like
Wow.
that's what they do. That's what they do.
I aspire to join Drew's creative team.
And we're already together. Like
Oh, but I want to be at a point where like I can design with Vincent. You know, I want those
Yeah.
skills. Those are 6 skills.
but so that's a whole nother conversation I'll have offline just about that. We had a meeting with Vincent yesterday. That went really well. But anywho, you know, I think having that node of people in that executive treasury level space to go and like kind of like gamble and create. So I think there should also be more. You want some more suits in the room, if that makes sense.
Do
Like
I?
you want both. You want it all, but you want it to be creatively driven. Like I think creativity and impact should drive everything that we do because that should never be stifled. Which is why I said if you have an idea and we don't vote for your idea, but your idea is really the best, like I don't need to have that personal blind spot. I don't need to be that idiot that day. Like this is why I think you should have the opportunity if no one votes.
Does that mean that I failed at driving home the value of that idea?
So what? But what if it could still have the level of impact?
But also, why do I need? I get it. Fuck, I'm still stuck to you guys voting on it. I was gonna say, why do I need you to vote on it? Why can't I just? You don't get the vision, cool. I'll just go do it myself.
That's why I literally just said you're forced to spend money on your own ideas.
Love it. So any of
So
my ideas that get rejected, I can just go run them up myself.
if you want to,
That
you
was
don't have to. It's a choice of you. That's your choice.
as long as
But
I'm not in a prison of other people not understanding the vision, I'm cool.
no, we can. It's not. I think there should be a level of people who don't get it because you like if you go down a rabbit hole for 48 hours and you're just in it and you have to kind of catch us up, you know, that's great. We can catch up. But you should have a way to communicate and articulate for us to clearly understand. And like, you know, be subject to a level of, well, let's put up for a vote. Some people get with it, they want to put money behind it, they want to continue to help it grow. Cool.
Yeah.
Some people may not. But you still should have the agency to go and pursue it. If you have $1 million budget per year, well, you can spend that whole million on that one idea, or you can spend 100 grand on it. Like that should be something that's funded by this organization for you to have the ability to do, as well as turn your phone off for 2 hours a day and have to prove that you didn't connect to the internet for 2 hours in a day, or maybe it's workout, or maybe it's you have to meditate. You know, you have to. Fortunately, we have to take all of our, you know, significant others to the Maldives to go on this retreat. Like,
That's cute.
you gotta go. Sorry,
Are you guys gonna do a baby moon?
a baby moon.
You're gonna do a baby moon.
I don't even know what a baby moon is.
Google it.
Google a baby moon. Yeah, all right. Sure. Yeah, we'll do a baby moon. Why not? Yeah,
All right.
yeah, for sure.
Hit me with your. I'll send you some baby moon ideas. Actually,
Oh my goodness. Thank you, world.
you're
For
welcome
the-
in advance.
All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're off on the baby moon notes. This is Jamal and
Saba.
we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.